Okay, so I know some people may only have the option of only doing 30 minutes, whether the client can only do in 30 minutes or maybe you're restricted by the location that you're training at. But 30 minutes is still plenty of time to give a really great workout. And we can kind of adjust it as needed for each client level, again, just like always. So starting with the beginner client, the average client, the new client, we can still keep that same that same circuit training, but maybe we cut out an exercise, so it's only 5 exercises, or maybe we only do 4 exercises. So that's a very simple way to cut down the total amount of time for the workout, so the client is still getting everything they need in a short period of time. It really just comes down to triaging, just like anything at this point. So our warm up is going to have to be cut down shorter a little bit. So we're really just going to focus on the biggest rocks. So just cutting down to maybe like 5 to 6 total exercises as opposed to like the 8 to 10 that we covered in the warm up section. Likewise, power, we're probably going to drop power at this point because it is a nice thing to have in your workouts, but it's not completely necessary. And again, if someone is getting stronger, they are going to be increasing their power output and their ability to generate force. So not a huge thing, again, especially with the client at this stage of their life, at this stage of their training. Now, scrolling over to our intermediate and more advanced clients, we can still keep the relative same structure that we had for them in that full workout. We're just going to tweak it again a little bit. So from here, what I'm going to do is have the focus lift for the day as always, and I'm just going to pair this up with a core exercise. So they're doing some direct core work, some direct core training. And then from there, we're just going to do the push, hip dominant, pull, knee dominant. And we're just going to sub out one of these exercises for another core exercise, or we can just leave it out completely depending on what that focus exercise is. So for instance, let's just say the focus lift for the day is actually a bench press. So we're not going to do another push, so we can just drop that out completely, or we could sub in a core exercise here, or again, we could sub in some sort of accessory exercise that we think may be beneficial for that client. Likewise, if that focus lift is a squat, we can drop the knee dominant exercise, and so they only have B1, B2, B3, for instance, or we can add in some sort of accessory work, add another core exercise from there. So this will give you plenty of flexibility to get everything that client needs in with that really short period of training. Another option that I covered briefly in one of the previous bonus videos was just doing a focus lift and then doing some sort of complex, a barbell complex, dumbbell complex, kettlebell complexes. They're really fun to do. Clients will get a really good workout out of them. And we're not too worried about losing out on the strength portion of the workout because we still are driving strength with that focus lift. And the complexes are a pretty good they do drive a pretty good amount of strength and conditioning at the same time, especially given the fact that we do only have 30 minutes with these people. So we're going to get the biggest rocks that they absolutely need, and they're still going to get really good results from there. Some options for complexes. We have what's called the bear complex, and probably the most infamous of all complexes is having a name, being named, whereas other complexes just kind of stuff them together. Another one that's really one of my personal favorites is Armenian deadlift right into a bent over row, right into a push press, right into a squat, either front or back squat, right into a reverse lunge. Again, either can go front racked or you can go have it behind their back, behind their neck. And another really good option, we have something with kettlebell. You got one arm swings and right into one arm cleans, right into one arm presses, right into one arm squat, right into one arm row. And for complexes like this, you want to shoot for around that 5-ish kind of rep range. You can, of course, do 10, higher reps. You can do fewer reps, 1, 2s, or 3s. But 5 is a really good number because, they're getting their heart rate up a little bit. They can lift a pretty decent amount of weight. So they're still getting a bit of a strength effect. They're also getting conditioning effect at the same time. So complexes, I tend to just I tend to default personally to about 5 reps for each exercise. But again, you really have a lot of wiggle room with this. You can play around with it. You can go a little bit heavier with fewer reps. You can go a little bit lighter with lighter reps. Really doesn't matter too much here because again, we've driven their strength with that focus lift, and now we're just doing a little bit of extra strength training, a little bit of conditioning work at the same time. And complexes, there are so many complexes. Like literally, if you just type in dumbbell complex or barbell complex into Google, you'll get like 8 bajillion results from it. So really are a lot of different ways you can go with this. And they're really, if I was to program like this with that 30-minute kind of time cap, I would have the focus lift and I wouldn't even worry kind of what the complex is. I just have some sort of complex in there because again, it covers so many muscle groups. They're really fast. They're really fun for the clients to do. And it really is a very great option for those clients who only have a short period of time. As far as rest for complexes, I tend to default to about a 2-minute rest in between a complex. So if you are unfamiliar, just so I make sure I cover all my bases here, a complex is you're doing, so like the bear, for instance, you're going to do power cleans. You're going to do all sets of power, or all reps of power cleans, all reps of the front squats, all reps of the push press, all reps of the back squat, all reps of the push press, and then you're going to stop. So this is everything back to back to back to back, right in a row. So necessarily you can't lift that heavy of a weight. And again, since you're doing all of this work in such a short period of time, that's why I'll also tend to default to a relatively lower rep range of 5 rather than something of 10, because you are doing a ton of work. If you're only doing a complex of, say, like 3 exercises, then a little bit higher would be fine. But again, you could also keep it lower too. Not a huge deal here. But for rest, I tend to default to full 2 to 3 minutes at this point, because it is a lot of work in a relatively short period of time. So we want them to get pretty rested in between each round of this complex. And for total sets, I'd probably do really anywhere from like 3 to 5, maybe a little bit more, depending on the person, depending on how quickly they're getting through and that type of stuff. But 5 sets of 5 reps with 2 to 3 minutes rest is a very great default, and it'll work with a lot of different complexes and a lot of different clients.